Hello, welcome to the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition live forum. I'm your host, David Dedakian, a small business owner here in Rhode Island. I own Eat Drink Rhode Island. But this isn't a show about Eat Drink Rhode Island. This is a show about small businesses across the board. The Rhode Island Small Business Coalition is for all small businesses. We really want to be the spot statewide for all small businesses. There's the address for you to check out. Thank you to Ben, our producer, for throwing that up on screen, rismallbusiness.org. You can find us on Facebook. Obviously, if you're watching this on Facebook, you know where to find us on Facebook, but you can also find us on Instagram and Twitter and all that. But check out rismallbusiness.org to sign up for the newsletter. Lots of things happening with the coalition coming up soon, and you sign up for the newsletter, you'll get that. This is our bi-weekly forum where we talk to business leaders and elected officials across our state. And today we've got Michelle Miller from the Center for Women in Enterprise. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. So you just heard, we're trying to, get all the small businesses in the state a good support system. There's lots of different organizations regionally. There's lots of things for certain sectors, but we really want to try and focus on all the things that affect small businesses throughout Rhode Island. And obviously, a business support organization like yours is key to helping small businesses here in Rhode Island. It's particularly, women and minorities, which is extremely important, and it's a huge sector of the small business, especially the sole proprietors and small like 1 to 10 employee businesses. There's lots of those in the what's the acronym? It's MWE. I forget the acronym. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No worries. It's
but yeah, there's all sorts of acronyms for these things. We many times just call the Center for Women in Enterprise CWE. So that's how business is. Tell us about the organization and what it does.
Absolutely. So the Center for Women in Enterprise, we go by CWE all the time as well. And as you can tell, I messed that up too. But we're a nonprofit that is dedicated to helping women start and grow businesses. We get about half of our funding from the U.S. Small Business Administration, which is an amazing team of resources as well for entrepreneurs in Rhode Island. We work in close partnership with SBA, SCORE, as well as development centers. CWE's angle, as I mentioned, is everything by and for women entrepreneurs, whether it is vetting your idea, seeing if it might have legs, putting a plan around it, figuring out how to pay for it, growing it, certifying it for a women-owned business certification. We do all of that, and most of it is free. It's your tax dollars hard at work.
Yeah, that's the best part about it. It is mostly free, and like you said, we do essentially pay for it, all of us. So that's
right.
Good. I mean, the SBA is a huge help. We've had Mark Hayward on here on the program before to talk about what the SBA can offer, and last episode we had Jeff from SCORE, also SBA funded. So that's it's great to have these organizations out there to help these businesses. And like I said, I think. Especially, I know it's true of the food and drink sector that I come from, but across the board, one of our board members, who I've mentioned many times and is on our program often, is Jennifer Ortiz. She owns a barbershop, sole proprietor. Many women-owned businesces start there. I mean, obviously, we all start there, but stay in that realm of sole proprietor to 1 to 10 employees, oftentimes a way for moms to get back into the workforce. Dads do too, but we're talking about women's here today. I mean,
I got you. Yeah,
as a dad, he used to be the guy who would be out there with his 2-year-old, and the shop owners would say to me, "Oh, is this a daddy day?" And I was like, "No, every day is a daddy day. I don't,
Well said, sir. Yes.
But that's another show. This is about women in enterprise. Do you find is that really the key to a lot of small businesses for women? Is that under 10 employee range, or do you really see all sorts of businesses across the board?
We definitely see all sorts. There are very large enterprises that are run by women, but I think if you're talking about a lot of the women-run businesses that we encounter at CWE, there are those really small shops, fewer than 10 employees. A lot of times, the woman is the only person who's operating the business. So you might have heard the term solopreneur, or lately we've been talking a lot about mompreneurs, to your point from a minute ago.
Yep.
So that absolutely is a really important part of the dynamic.
No, it's very true. And I think about it with the food industry because of lately we've been working on legislation. One of the things that the Small Business Coalition does is we try to work with our legislators to make things here in Rhode Island a more small business friendly state. And one of the pieces of legislation that I've recently worked on is the cottage food legislation, which we find a lot of single moms, moms from minority businesses, want to start up minority businesses, go into food, want to be able to create food products, especially culturally important food products to people from around the world. So that's just my one small chunk of the experience there. But I know it is extremely important and a very vital way to get these businesses started.
Ooh.
So tell me about the process. How does someone go about engaging with you? What is there a pathway? What's the way to do this?
Absolutely. Folks, just give us a buzz. We're available. You can check out what we have to offer at cweonline.org/Rhode Island. You can sign up for our services. You can check out what's going on. You'll also see at the top of that website a page called Espanol. If you are looking for services in Spanish, you can see everything that we're offering in Spanish at that page.
Excellent.
And that's like the easiest way to get in touch with us. You can see what your flavor is, or maybe you don't really know what questions to ask or what support you need, in which case use that same page. Our email's there, our phone number's there. You can reach out to us on social media and we'd be glad to chat with you. There are certain things that we know most businesses need, but we really pride ourselves on the individualized service so that when you call us, you'll get some time for us to really match you with the service that you need.
Excellent. Similar to actually how Jeff described SCORE in some ways. I think it's fantastic to see these business support organizations out there. So that's cweonline.org/Rhode Island.
Yep.
That's important. The Center for Women in Enterprise, is it nationwide or regional or?
I love this question because it's kind of an interesting answer. So the Center for Women in Enterprise itself is a nonprofit that has 5 physical addresses in New England and Vermont, New Hampshire. There are 2 in Massachusetts, and then in Providence, Rhode Island. But that SBA funding that I mentioned, it's part of a nationwide program called the Women's Business Center program. So much like you could find SCORE in Texas or California or what have you, you could find women's business centers in just about any state. Many states have more than one. We just happen to operate most of the ones in New England in partnership with SBA.
Got it. Excellent. And these businesses that come to you, like you said, it runs the gamut in size. But are there particular areas that you find more common, or is it really, everything from? Oh, my apology for that. Runs the gamut from everything from hair salons to accountants to lawyers. How's that work?
Yeah, we see hair salons, we see women in retail, we see women-owned construction firms, women-owned law firms, veterinarians, we see animal therapy, clinical social workers who have their own practices. It really is a beautiful spectrum of types of businesses that we see.
Wow. And so, what are some of the common themes and issues that you see businesses come to you for?
Yeah. In general, it is, I have this idea, but I don't really have the confidence to get started. And I don't know if my idea is crazy. But I say in general because that's really taken a different turn over the last couple of years. With the pandemic, we have seen one of 2 things. It's either been, oh my goodness, my business has been going great for all of these years and I've never needed help before, but help me apply for these loans, or it's time for me to get out. I'm ready to go back to the workforce. Or we see folks who are now becoming entrepreneurs of necessity. Their furloughs turned into layoffs, and now they really want to think about how they might create their own income.
Yeah, no, there's certainly been a lot of that. I think of a restaurant I just went to recently, Kin, downtown on Washington Street in Providence. Julia, who I've met Julia a couple times, and she was, sadly laid off because of the pandemic and decided now was the time. And now she's got this great restaurant that's a year old.
Fabulous.
Yeah, it's great when things like that work out. I think small business is such a difficult road for a lot of people. So it's support is obviously key. Are there, and I don't want to say standard services, but sort of like bookkeeping, filling out paperwork, tax, things like that. Is that fall within the realm of the CWE?
It certainly does. It certainly does. As a general form of practice, but especially in the pandemic when we had PPP and EID. Earlier, we were talking about acronyms, right?
Yeah.
That took on a whole new dimension in the pandemic. So we were spending a lot of time helping people to dissect what was even being talked about and to get there. So we do a lot of that. And we try to make sure that when we talk about things like profit and loss statements and other items related to accounting, that we speak plain human. And so we found a lot of success in that.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's been a lot of folks fell into that sort of how to does anyone know how to do this PPP thing? Uh, and thankfully we did have those systems, and it was a strong support mechanism for a lot of people, but definitely not always the easiest. Sometimes dealing with our federal government and the funding system. So thankfully it was there. And yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that's one of those types of things where you need an organization like yours. You need, there's these groups out there that we've talked to kind of help shepherd along these ways, and especially with these, sole proprietors or small businesses that don't have bigger organizations that they're part of. It can be frustrating. So thank you for that.
Oh
Uh,
gosh, yeah, thank you.
yeah. So I wanted to ask about so you get a lot of new businesses, like you mentioned, a lot of people trying to, is this idea work, this and that. Do you work with already existing, well-established businesses, or how does that work?
We sure do. Whether it's early stage, I don't even know if I want to be an entrepreneur, through exit strategy planning, we
Okay.
serve everybody. The primary thing that we offer businesses that are well established is starting to scale or start to explore the world of certification. There are many businesses that want to get certified as women owned or minority women owned. And so we help folks prepare for that conversation so that they know whether or not it might be a right fit for them and navigate through that alphabet soup. And then there are multiple ways to get certified as women owned. We operate the New England affiliate of the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, which is one of those ways. So we do directly certify some businesses as well.
MWBE, that's the acronym I couldn't remember before.
I thought that might be where you're going with
That
it.
was that was the acronym I was trying to remember. So as someone who's had to fill out RFPs and things of that in the nature in the past, I've seen that form. Obviously I don't fall into that category to fill out myself, but I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
Can you explain to our viewers, what that is for those businesses out there that could be certified, what certification is?
Absolutely. Certification is effectively a stamp that goes onto your business that verifies that you're at least 51% owned, operated, and controlled, fancy legal jargon, by a member of a group that has historically been marginalized or had difficulty accessing things. It's a way to level the playing field.
Right.
And the reason why why that can be helpful to some businesses is it can help them to get bigger, badder contracts or contracts in the first place. For example, if you have a cleaning company and there is a new, the Paw Sox left. Fine, we'll just pretend that the Paw Sox is still in Rhode Island. At the time, they contracted out, right, for their cleaning services. So if you wanted to get access to that contract, being certified as a business that is minority and or women owned can help level the playing field. It can help, all of the things being equal, you to be more likely to get that contract, which can be really lucrative to folks, helps them to meet their goals of purchasing from diverse suppliers, and can really help you and your business to gain access to a nice hefty contract.
Fantastic. That's a great description in a nutshell there. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think a lot of businesses, like you said, they're going through this process right now. A lot of change. A term I just recently heard for the first time, which an interesting one, was entrepreneur. Which, a small business run by an entrepreneur that's looking for the end. Can you, in a good way, sometimes unfortunately not in a good way, but either way, trying to wrap things up, move on from the business,
Yep.
either because of necessity or through retirement. Can you describe that process a little bit? How does that work with?
Yeah, there are a few different ways, and it kind of depends on your goals for the business, which is where what we would do is we would help to walk through with you. Some folks come to us, they know exactly what they want their end game to look like. Other folks are starting to get tired, or something like a global pandemic happened and now they're just fried and they don't even know what they might want for their business. So we will take whichever scenario it is and help to clarify goals for them, think about their timeline for exit strategy, and then connect them with whatever the resources are. I'll give an example of someone who had a cleaning business rather, who was really, really loving it, got fried during the pandemic, and came to us, and she was a solopreneur, just thought that she would just stop operating, right? Okay, I'm just going to stop this and that will be the end of the business. Thank goodness she told us about that, because we were able to help her think through how she could put a dollar value on that business, on the
Sure.
brand reputation that she had developed, and that never occurred to her before. But she ended up selling it for a good chunk of change, and now the business is still operating in her legacy, but she's out of it, and she made a nice chunk of money for everything that she built. So it's a bit of a roundabout answer to your question, because it really can look a little different for folks. They might want to sell it, they may want to close it, they may want to pay themselves a retirement. But we try to work with folks to figure out their financial goals and the I don't know how else to say it other than pride goals, goals and what you had built for the business, what you want to see your legacy,
Sure.
and then help to plan from there.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, no, it sounds excellent. Um, do you see a lot of, so like like we discussed, these businesses run a gamut.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of kind of, I don't want to say again typical problems, but things that you can kind of be like, okay, we've had 50 businesses come to us with this problem. Here's kind of a not cookie cutter, but kind of here's the standard answer. Are there things like that you can manage?
Yeah, I think more often than not, businesses are more alike than they are different, whether we're talking about a salon or a cleaning company or what have you. I'm always surprised by some of the commonalities. And to that end, some of the commonalities that I see are challenges standing out in the marketplace. There's a lot of competition, especially in a wonderful state like we have in Rhode Island. It can be difficult to differentiate. So a lot of times our soul searching is really getting clear on the value add that you have, and not just trying to sell whatever it is you're selling, but really getting clear on the difference and being able to prove that what you want to sell is actually something that the market needs. Um, so I'd say that differentiation piece is a significant common problem that we see. Um, and then finances, I think, are another part of the problem. It's a tightrope that I'm sure you mentioned. You've got a business. That's something that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with. Is you need to spend money to make money, but
Yep.
you need to spend it wisely, and you need to have a system for having a sense of what the ROI is on those dollars that you're spending, so that you can regularly be monitoring yourself and cutting out the stuff that's not working and doing more of the stuff that is.
Exactly.
And that can be tough when you're in the throes of the day to day. So I think that's where an organization like CWE or SCORE, anybody in the SBA family, can be a nice external coach to help you think that through.
That's a great point. So with that in mind, do you pair people up with other well-established similar businesses or mentors, or how does that work?
Yeah, actually, what you're mentioning there with the mentor piece is a key differentiator between us and SCORE. I find that we play so well in the same sandbox with SCORE, in that we have slightly different approaches, and different things work for different folks. SCORE has a beautiful mentor program that you
Right.
can connect with someone that will work with. We are more on a touch and go sort of basis. We regularly check in with people. We have classes. We have wonderful consultants that work with folks, and we try to build connections within our network that are more self-sustaining than what SCORE has. So if we have someone who comes to us looking to connect with someone else in her industry, we can usually find that, and then we'll let them run with it, as opposed to monitoring the day-to-day. And as I mentioned, it's just a different approach, and
Right.
SCORE and this are able to really complement each other's work that way.
Yeah. Well, it's also it's Rhode Island, so
Absolutely.
I'm sure you talk to folks at SCORE and they talk to you, and folks at Chambers and the SBA all the time. I mean, that's
Yes,
the nature of Rhode Island. A benefit and a curse at times, that everyone knows each other's business.
that's it. That's it.
No, I know. It's a good thing. It really is a good thing.
It really
I
is.
think most of us, if we just yesterday, there's a text chain with those of us on the board of the Small Business Coalition, and we don't normally veer into this, but one of them was like, "Hey, I need a foundation done. Who do I use?" It's, someone else had an answer. So, it's the beauty of Rhode Island to be able to do things like that, and to know folks, small business owners. That you don't have to. Yeah, obviously there are some larger corporations out there that we have to engage with, to get things done in the day-to-day business. But for the most part, we really can rely on each other in a small business fashion here. It's great.
Yes, absolutely.
And we got to get the state to recognize that more. I think that's the thing, is that they forget that if we put all the small business owners together in the state, we're a much more powerful faction than say an Amazon, or even not to pick on a local business, but even bigger than a CVS. That's the reality of it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Turn up the volume and let's say that again for the folks in the back. I could not agree with you more. That's exactly what fuels our economy and what brings us forward. We're greater than the sum of our parts with the way that we're currently structured.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you. So I have one other question here that some of our members asked. Is there a particular aspect of things that businesses, I don't want to say do poorly at or fail at, but a thing that you find oftentimes businesses are coming to CWE and saying, I just can't do this. I just don't know where this is. Is there like a key thing that we should really try and stress to our small businesses out there? Hey, you're having a problem with this? Go here.
Yes, I think so. And I kind of laugh as I'm answering it because this was totally me. I had a coffee shop for a number of years before I had the opportunity to work with the Center for Women in Enterprise. And what I did the ostrich thing with was anything related to my money, my financials. I didn't like it. I didn't understand it. It scared me. And I just didn't engage with it. And I darn near lost the business involuntarily. But now that I'm working with CWE, I see the same thing. Folks who either give it very little attention or something that is a point of concern for a business. I mean, that's your heartbeat, right? That's what you need for your business. But it, as important as it always is, I was particularly aware of it when the pandemic first hit, because there were these wonderful relief funds that became available through the federal government, through the state government. And I saw a really disturbing number of folks who were unable to get funding for no other reason than they didn't have their financial house in order. That's a very preventable thing, and you don't want to be trying to deal with that in a crisis. So, long story short, I'll get off my soapbox with this, which is to pay attention to it. Consider it as important as keeping your heart beating. You should know what's going on with your business's financials.
It's an excellent point. Excellent point. I mean, we've participated with several of the grant funds that have come out of Commerce. The Small Business Coalition has put together a couple of the smaller, the $5,000 grant funds, which have been huge for people. But one of the things Commerce asks for is a DUNS number, Dun and Bradstreet number, and a SAMS number, which is your federal. I forget what SAMS stands for, but the federal number that allows the federal government to pay you funds, and they're both free and easy to get.
Yep.
But a lot of people just don't have them. They don't, there's, not a need until something like this comes along, and hopefully nothing like this comes along again. But I just to use again, one of my clients is a farm. So I had a SAMS number for the farm because we apply for USDA programs.
Yeah.
I knew what that was, and it was very easy and straightforward to get, but a lot of people didn't. I think, things like that come up. Organizations like yours, like the others ones mentioned, are important to shepherd folks through that process, because it's not necessarily difficult, but it's not something that is first in your mind when you're running a small business. You're more concerned with, making sure you get the right coffee, or making sure your shelves are stocked, or making sure, that the oil's in the system, for whatever machinery you're running, and not so much, oh, do I have that number that I'm going to occasionally need like once a year to fill out a financial form.
Right.
Yeah, but it's important. It's the reality.
Very important, and you'll need it for certification too. So if it's in the back of your head, get those numbers there too. So.
There you go. Absolutely. I think you're right. I think finance is just unnecessarily difficult for a lot of people. Again, something we've worked on, working on lowering the corporate minimum tax, things of that nature in the state. We don't need to go down the political road, but it's certainly something we want to try and reduce. But people out there may forget that even exists if they start a small business. They may not realize once they've incorporated that they need to pay things like that. So it's important that there are these support organizations that help them with these things.
Absolutely.
So that is all the questions that our members had. I just want to let everyone out there know, normally the show is live on Facebook on Tuesday afternoons, but we had to pre-record this because I have some work that I couldn't get out of that day. So we are pre-recorded. So if you have any questions for the CWE, any questions for Michelle, you can put them in the chat on Facebook, or you may already have them there. And we'll make sure that they get over. If there's something that they need to answer, we'll make sure that we get them and get answers for the Facebook chat. Our producer, Ben, just put up the website there for everyone to take a look at, cweonline.org. And if you go to cweonline.org/Rhode Island, you'll find our particular chapter here. Anything you want to say in closing, Michelle? Anything you want to add?
Thanks so much for having me. And I'll just echo, anyone who would like to learn more, like any support, please give us a shout. Thanks so much. And thanks for everything you do.
Oh, our pleasure. Thank you for having the time to do this today. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Take care. So I just want to tell you about all the great interviews we've got coming up, because that was a really great chat with Michelle. I really enjoyed that, and it's important that you tune in and learn more about these organizations, because they're there to help you. They're like she said, it's free. It's there for you. So cweonline.org that we talked about today. In 2 weeks, I'm sorry, we've got the Rhode Island Office of Diversity, Equity, and Opportunity. We'll be sitting down with them and learning about what they do there. And then we've got a bunch more elected officials coming up after that. We've got May 3rd. We've got every 2 weeks starting May 3rd. We've got Representative Blake Filippi, Secretary of State Nellie Gorbea, who's also running for governor, Senator Jessica De La Cruz, who's running for United States Congress, Representative Karen Alzate, who's part of the Small Business Committee in the House. I've spoken to her many times this year. We're trying to get the happy hour bill passed to increase business for our sadly in paying restaurants and bars. Treasurer Seth Magaziner will be here June 28th, also running for U.S. Congress. And Joy Fox, who's running for U.S. Congress, will be with us on July 5th. So we've got a great lineup of folks coming up. Please check those all out, either live at Tuesdays at noon or anytime in the replay on Facebook. Thanks again for watching. Check out rismallbusiness.org, and we'll see you next time.